Greetings and salutations, all you stunning individuals. It is another epi of League on Lock. Eric and Mark here with you beauties, and we are finally here to begin a little first stand preview action. We'll do every role, all the teams. When there's only 5 of them, it's a little easier to get through.
Yeah, I think that's the easy way to take this type of homework. Everybody gets to take a little bit of a breather because not too many teams to dive into compared to an event like MSI or even more so like Worlds, where we are having more so of these squads beat up. It is only the 5, and it is the champions of the region of this first split heading to first stand, the proven fearless draft champions coming on through from their region's going to be a fun time.
And let's begin just with the team rankings to get things, set the stage for everything. And I think it's pretty clear Han was number 1 first and foremost, but not only that, there's upset potential for maybe even top esports dropping a game to a Western team. But the main points for these 5 is Hanwha is far ahead of everybody else, and when you look at the playoff run for Carmine Corp versus Team Liquid, what KC did, especially against G2, I think you have to feel a little more confident in them than Team Liquid.
Yeah, I really like this because Hanwha Life at the very forefront is going to be that favorite, is going to be that expected winner in every single match that they go through. But when you look at everybody else, it is not, it's not far enough of a gap between any of these teams that it shouldn't be possible to have an upset, to have action, to have craziness come through at this event. And as you said, starting it out with teams like Team Liquid, KC should have an opportunity against a squad like Top Esports. I still think this is one of those ones where I favor Top Esports for sure. I think that's the safe bet for a lot of people, and especially historically, internationally in this situation. But I wouldn't underestimate teams like KC or Team Liquid to have a chance to punch up, to make one of these moves and get something going at this tournament. And at the same time, both KC and Team Liquid can't be complacent, can't be just, oh, we're here and our spot is guaranteed at this event type of thing, because you're looking at the Flying Oysters and they're good enough to take games off of a team from the LTA, from the LEC. So you gotta be prepared, gotta be sharp if you're one of these teams. And that's not to say that even Hanwha Life doesn't need to be sharp at the top, because you know that these teams are preparing and studying for how to take down and dismantle that.
And time and time again, we learn that the PSG Talons of the world can come, make the knockout round, get upsets, play competitive best of series against an LCK or LPL team. So yeah, absolutely. There's a potential to maybe get as high as second for a Western team and also be one of the teams exiting first, as only one team gets eliminated heading to those semifinals, of course. But let's get to the nitty gritty, the actual positions role by role. And when you start in that top side of things, it's looking like a T1 top lane reunion. Zeus, Kana, and Impact. All that's missing is their current top laner.
Yeah, it really is the T1 flavor up in the top side, and it's disrupting that top 3 of the top side with Mr. 369 coming on in. Someone very familiar with the top laners. Doesn't matter what era of T1, very familiar with them on the opposing side. This top lane pool is an exciting one for me. I think we've got a good, healthy option of variety in here. Of course, you have someone like Zeus and the explosive power that he can offer at the very top of a rankings like this. Then even step down that next level, Kana has taken more strides in his career this year and has looked very comfortable fitting into his role, his place within this Carmine Corp roster. And through all the struggles and tribulations, up and downs of last year's type of situations, to have the success that they're having now, and for him to individually look improved and be a more impactful player for this team is a great sign heading towards this event. But you follow it up with Mr. 369 and what stability he can offer, what type of punishments he can dish out to mistakes on the opposing side is something that Top Esports will rely upon. Then we get to Mr. Grandpa Impact. What can he do? I think he is behind in comparison to where we have seen him at various points in his career, long career at international events. But I wouldn't count him out for this Team Liquid squad and what he could do and how impactful his role can be for the team in the top side.
I mean, we know Impact is a guy who paces himself in the regular season, early in the playoffs, and then steps up the bigger the match is. And obviously, international event, we're expecting him to level up, even if he had one of his weaker splits overall, despite Team Liquid winning the whole thing. I know Kana being ahead of 369 might irk some people, but I mean, look at the playoff run Kana just had. He was one of the focal points for why KC had such a dominant run, and 369 leveled up throughout playoffs for TES for sure, but felt like he was not the focal point a lot of the time and was taking more a backseat to, well, number one, Kanavi taking games over and Jackie Love being the featured guy. So I think they're both very similar in power level, but this isn't Kana from last year on K Corp, who would be at the bottom of this list.
I think it's a situation of I'm valuing Kana's improvements, his impactfulness this split more so than I'm looking at someone like 369 and I'm saying, yes, you were good this split, but you've been better in other splits is the way that I value 369 individually. I think that he could provide more. And that's probably, as you said, well, this top esports team doesn't need him to necessarily provide more. And that can be one of the strengths for them. But individually looking in that side, I think that it is important to give Kana that little bit of a bump, a little bit of a boost and acknowledgement for what we have seen go right for him and improve for him within Carmine Corp.
And the last one on this list, the Flying Oysters, Rest and Driver. We got both of them because they've actually split a decent amount of time. Like it's 60-40 that they've been subbing guys in. Obviously, having Fearless Draft and having an angle where maybe you have two different play styles, that might actually be a boon for them at a tournament like this.
It's something we've talked about, theorized about, having a player in that type of replacement role that has a very unique, very specific champion pool or strategy that they are focused on and leaning towards in their practice. That type of thing can be one of those angles and has been utilized by the Flying Oysters in that type of way. Going to be interesting to see who will be drawing in, any given match really for the Oysters in that regard.
And it's not as simple as just tank duty or carry duty because there's champions like Cassante who fill both those roles, and there's not many other tanks. But excited to see which one of them gets more and how they compete against some of these top dogs. You might initially think a list like this, it's just going to be Hanwha number one for every single position, but no. We break up that streak because you have to shout out what Kanavi was doing. He was the best player for top esports throughout pretty much the majority of the year, and he's done it on all types of different characters. Peanut had one of his best splits with Hanwha, but I'm still giving the edge to Kanavi at this whole event.
It's got to go to Kanavi. You can't tell me that it's not Kanavi in the way that he dominates once again through the LPL to earn himself an international trip. I think after, uncharacteristically quiet year last year type of situation, I think you could put it in and you can lump him in with kind of everything that went with JDG and how things were going to disperse from that year. But for him to get a bounce back like this with top esports and instantly plug himself in and be that impactful player that we know he can be has been wonderful for the LPL. And I think not having him as the number one would be too disrespectful. Peanut has been great for Hanwha Life. He has been steady, consistent, all sorts of things that, at other previous points in his year, you wouldn't have associated with Peanut, but he has been able to deliver that as he continues to mature for Hanwha Life.
And, behind them, if Yike didn't have such a good shot calling presence, communication, and again, playoff run with KC, I would have been fine putting Junjia in that 3 spot. Guy got MVP for the entire split in the LCP. We're no strangers to seeing him on that international stage, but both he and Yike are playing at an extremely high level coming into this.
And I wanted on the record that Yike earned this one. This is flat out earned from Yike to get this spot, to get this little heads up, level up over someone like Junjia, because Junjia is someone that needs to be respected, needs to be tracked, needs to be looked after on the international stage because he can cause pain, can cause havoc for the enemy team. And so to give Yike this role, it really is that recognition of what K Corp has been doing. We talked about this with Kana and his individual story. It's a little different when you go to Yike and his transition from G2 and the role and step that he has taken individually in his career with Carmine Corp to show more, shoulder more of those responsibilities and calls. And for him to come through with this team and have the success that they did, I am very happy to see him get this opportunity at this international event.
And this, what was it, like 7 titles in a row for Yike or something? Going back to all the G2 winning 4 splits in a row. Maybe he wasn't the problem. Yike was the solution all along. But again, him stepping into the leadership role that he has with KC has been an absolute treat to see. And unfortunately, last guy on this list is my main concern for the LTA, and that is Umpty matching up against these 4 junglers that are all playing at an incredibly high level, because he had his worst split that he's had on TL.
His performance and decision-making against LTA South teams was a problem. I imagine it will be a problem when we're starting to run up against the buzzsaw, the LPL, the LEC, and let's throw in Hanwha Life LCK in there. Heck, even a sprinkling of some LCP Flying Oysters can give some trouble for Umpty in the way that things have gone this split. It's not supposed to be all this doom and gloom, because I think when everything is going right, when he is individually playing well and is in sync with the rest of Team Liquid, he's a piece that fits perfect. He does exactly what the team wants to do, does it with no extra flair, no extra cost, anything else, and he gets the job done. But when it's not like that, that is where the struggles is. That is where you have these questionable decisions and chances coming through, and it's throwing away opportunities that are being built or being waited for later for players like Jan or APA. So you can't have that happening. You can't have those type of mistakes at an event like this from him. He needs to change that around.
And I'm worried that in this type of a format with Fearless, he starts getting some of these comfort picks taken away from him, either banned, scooped up by the opposing jungler. If he's not on these comfortable, more engaged tank type champions, somebody like Kanavi or Peanut are going to absolutely wreak havoc on him on the Rift. And alongside him, obviously, we always talk about mid-jungle duos. APA is another guy who, it's amazing Team Liquid turned things around, because up until those last 2 series in the playoffs, I feel like people were a little worried about APA's level too.
Oh, this one hurts actually. When you're going through this one, it's a little different. Yike was a happy one type of situation, giving him that promotion. This is a demotion for APA to move down a slot into what is going to be 4 in this rankings, because he is someone that over the course of the last year and a half or so really deserved to have a better ranking and has been growing type of thing, but really showed maybe a little bit of a step backwards at times this split as far as that performance, as far as the preparedness that went for him individually. I don't think it was up to the level that was necessary for him to be that running engine for Team Liquid. So he slides down a spot for me from where he should be heading towards this event.
Especially because Vladdy was pretty consensus, like top 2 mid laner throughout the entire split at worst in the LEC.
And that's the other thing that comes inside with that, is that Vladdy does have that bump up, does have the improvement, is better than I think a lot of the expectations were early going to be for him with Carmine Corp. So that's where you get that little boost for him. It's unfortunate for APA because of the, heads against the LEC and, everything else. He feels he should have that type of advantage. I feel when you're looking at this type of list, but for me, performances this year and how everything went in the LTA, it's not enough to outweigh what type of progress, what type of instant traction we saw for Valdi with the LEC. That means it's only moving on up when you still look at that mid lane, because we've got to talk about Cream and Mr. Zeka in the mid lane for Hanwha Life. That is the exciting and most scary option when you're looking at these mid lanes.
Yeah, and obviously all of Zeka's handful of champions are kind of peak in the meta right now, and this is the one role where it's kind of insane. We're so used to doing these international events, and mid lane especially, you're going, yeah, Caps, Faker, Knights in there, Chovy, and Zeka and Cream are 1-2. And they're no slouches. They both had incredible runs, but it's just kind of bizarre seeing this list and not having those household names on there.
It's very crazy, and that goes with the territory of having an international event without T1, without G2, without BLG, the standard teams that we have come over the last handful of years to expect to be, and not only expect to be there, to be competing at the very end of these type of events. And to have that change through, have that changing of the guard in the mid lane, have Zeka be that established superstar, the one that has accomplished things, that does have that pedigree and brings that power level, leading the charge for a group that contains the challengers of Cream, Valdi, APA, and all this else, can be an exciting opportunity to get some new names and build some new memories on the international stage.
And don't sleep on Hong Q as this mid laner. This guy is 17 years old. He already won Rookie of the Split. Obviously, going to be alongside another young rookie here. But when you are so green, I feel like he's going to be playing with no fear, despite matching up against some of these titanic mid laners on the other side.
You got to take it as that learning experience type of angle. That doesn't mean that you can't put your whole heart and soul into it and try your very best to win and be a champion and all these type of things. The expectation won't be there for him and the rest of the Flying Oysters, but I think it is absolutely going to be one of these angles that makes the games exciting, make them interesting to see and keep track of as we move through the first stand event.
Onto that bottom lane and top spot here, I think it doesn't matter what other teams were at this event. I think Viper is the number 1 AD carry in the world right now, bar none. Doesn't matter the region.
He has proved it all the way through Hanwha Life's run, the consistency, the explosive power that he can offer for this team, and the synergy that he seems to have with all these members and understanding what exactly is the game plan at every single moment. Viper has been on top of it for Hanwha Life, and he is unquestionably on top of the rest of the ADC pool. Where it gets interesting is right after him, because I think this is one that's going to have a lot of people and some up in arms and some angriness, or maybe cheering and yelling and screaming in the streets, whatever it's going to be.
All the above, probably.
There's going to be some reactions to this one, but I think that this is one that does involve talking about, and that is Khalees ahead of Jackie Love. And this is going to be one of those ones where individually I could accept Jackie Love ahead of Khalees, but for me, I'm going to make the case why we have him there. And for me, it's all about the hype and excitement that we have seen from Khalees deliver upon this split, the role that he has taken, not only as a rookie, but someone that is communicating, is understanding the game plan and shot calling for this team and how to maximize it, how to take it to that next level, not just for himself, but for the rest of the team and the rest of the goals that they're trying to achieve. I think that you got to give him that little bit of an edge over like someone like Jackie Love, where we have that established history of what he can do, the highs and the lows, of course, with his career. There have been more so highs than lows this split when you're tracking Jackie Love, but I don't think we've necessarily hit the explosive highs that we have in previous years. And that, combined with the impressive strides that we have seen from Khalees and how instantly comfortable, not out of place, and up to the challenge that everybody wants to dish out to the number 1 prospect of the LEC, has me putting him at number 2 heading towards this.
Yeah, and maybe it's it just, I feel something in my very core. Maybe it's I feel like at the end of this event we're going to be talking about Khalees like this as this opportunity to kind of showcase himself to the world, because let's face it, outside of the LEC he's still a rookie, and most of these players, most of these viewers outside of EU haven't seen him play yet. So this is an opportunity, but just how locked in this guy is. And I know we love to bring up the Kalista play where he's clicking to see how much mana he has, to know he doesn't have enough to have rent. Like, that is operating at a legit 200 IQ level to be aware of that in a split second decision. So I just feel like Khalees is at an absolute another level in his debut. And this might be the most stacked position, because Jan had his best split ever, and putting him 4th, it seems so harsh because he's been amazing.
That's one of the tough things about doing one of these lists when it is only these amount of teams, and you go, yeah, well, normally, you're looking through finding where's the middle, and then below middle, you're supposed to be bad. And that's not the way it works in a situation like this. So for someone like Jan to get this spot, it should be motivating, I think, more than anything, to see that, yes, we're going to praise Jan and talk about the strides he continues to make individually for his career, being the number 1 in his position within the LTA region, north, south, throw it, whatever together. I think that Jan's got to be that top ranking ADC. Even with all of that, comes behind a guy like Jackie Love. And that could be fine. You could, again, understand, yeah, sure, maybe I'm number 3. That's okay. You're not number 3. Jackie Love is number 3, because Khalees is now number 2. And I think that is an issue where someone like Jan could get upset and want to say, hey, what about the role that I've played young and early in my career and still shown the sides of progress through this point in this year? all that is more than valid. But I think for someone like Jan, it's going to be about delivering at the event, at this one, in an international match to take those strides and keep improving forward, compared to someone like Khalees, where we have, this instant success that we are jumping on top of, maybe a little bit of the hype train aboard with it as well.
And Jan, if you're watching, I know, big fan of the show. You're number one in our hearts, and that's all that matters. You're number one in our hearts, and I know he's going to put up a solid performance on that international stage. The buddies in that bot lane, I think Delight and the level up that Delight's the easy number one, much like Viper. They're the easy best bot lane, maybe even in the world as a duo. And Crisp has obviously had this insane level up throughout this split. It's a pretty big gap after those two.
It is. I don't want Core JJ to feel too left out, but it is quite a distance, I think, between them where they are right now. That isn't meant to say that someone like Core JJ can't deliver the playmaking plays that you need a support to be able to do, to save this player that you need him to save, all these type of things. Core JJ more than capable of that still when you're talking about it. But as far as looking for plus, looking for extra, expecting that special play, that's where you start looking at guys like Crisp and Delight, and even, more than Crisp, it really is Delight that you're looking to make those big time plays, those special plays for the teams, and the ones where I'm thinking, you know what? Everybody else on this list, you really can allow them to play whatever they want. No one's going to come through with anything. Delight, I'm not letting that Rakan even sniff the riff with this guy when it's if you're fearless draft or not. I'm not letting that one come through. You got to be careful about that with Delight.
Yeah, I mean, it's even easier in Fearless, right? You first pick it the first game and say, okay, we don't have to worry about that. Worry about him having to deal with that and popping off. So, yeah, that's obviously one of the scariest picks that he ever has. But the bottom three are all veteran guys. Listen, even Kaiwing and Dog, we know, are a fantastic bot lane. It just feels like the bot lanes are kind of at an all-time high throughout this entire event.
I think we are all set and ready and very excited for this one. It's not a crazy long wait like other ones. This is going to happen real soon. First stand, get ready.
Yeah, that's the big win. Just 1 week off, basically, till we get into that. So we'll preview the whole event before it happens, but that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you beauties. Thanks for hanging out, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.